Okay, Reusse Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold, investment consultant, Mr. Money Talk. I feel like the week has been filled with emotional odes to Karl Anthony Towns. It's funny because, like, multiple times in the last few years, people were out with pitchforks ready to ship him off for 50 cents on the dollar for playoff performances, but now we look back and he is this generation's Kevin Garnett, apparently, from what I've been reading on Twitter. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I've been thinking about that, and I've decided that at least on Twitter, people want to be negative, right? That's their number one thing, and I'm one
Sure.
of those guys myself. But I like to agitate, not necessarily be negative. But I think that they're now trying to, well, what did the Wolves do wrong here? How could they trade Cat? I was looking at the Knicks roster last night. They got about 7 players. This is disaster for them. This trade is going to get Tibbs fired. It's going to get everybody fired because Towns is going to play 50 games. He's going to play Brunson into the ground. He'll end up getting hurt. They have no players. They gave up all their depth. They have you look at the roster, they got 4 or 5 guys you've never heard of, a couple in the out of the draft. They have no players. Meanwhile, I we got a plethora of players as they use. It's unbelievable. I mean, I want Terrence Shannon to get 15 minutes a night. Terrence Shannon? How's he going to get 15 minutes a night? I want Dillingham to get 15 minutes a night. How's he going to get 15 minutes a night? I DiVincenzo, I heard last night, I was listening to something. Last year, he took the 14th most threes in the history of the NBA.
Yeah.
So
And
he's
shot
a gunner.
40%.
And he's a gunner. How could they give us? How could Tibbs give us that guy just to get Cat, who's going to play 50 games? And have to play center. By the way, he's going to have to be his defensive center. Prediction: when did Tibbs get fired here? In January something of the year? He's
Think
going
so.
to get fired in
Yeah.
January in New York because
Wow.
it's going to be.
Write that down.
It's write that down. It's going to
Oh,
be a disaster
Binding.
for the
here.
Knicks.
Write this
You know,
down.
Dex, let's actually add
That's
that to
binding, Pat
let's put
Royce.
that on the sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Tibbs will be fired before February.
They're getting ready. They're trying to put their team together for the playoffs. Well, meanwhile, they're going to be in the whatever we call that stupid thing, 7, 8, 9, and 10, the play-in tournament. They're going to just have too many. The NBA, you got to look at your roster and say, okay, what are we going to do in those two? We got starters. We got 400 games. What are we going to do during those 150 games when one of these guys is not playing because they have injuries is the way of the world in the NBA, especially when you got a bunch of veterans and we've just like the Vikings fleeced the world by getting rid of Kirk Cousins. The Knicks have been fleeced by the Timberwolves with this trade, I think.
I got a question on
Yeah.
Cat, or
Yeah.
I've got a theory that I want to run past you guys because it seems to me that we forget during the course of the summer who Cat is. I feel like Cat on. I feel like how people talk about him right now is a theory of like him at his best and what he can do, which is great.
Yes.
But do we just blank out the bad stuff? Do we just like forget about that? Because that's what like everything is like we talk about Cat when Cat's at his best. Okay, that's great. But what about when he's not at his best, which by the way will not be forgiven in New York?
Well, that's true, and he's not going to be at his. It's the league is who's at their best all the time, and
Right.
him plus him. He's what the one good thing though is if they put him on the post a lot more than they did in the past, the idiot won't be running over people trying to charge in from the right side and one of the worst drivers to the basket in the history of mankind. He's he looks like he's trying to go through a farm fence or some damn thing, running over people. running over people and then
It's true.
whining to the referees. I'm glad we're rid of him.
Yeah,
It's now, John. I don't know enough about Randall. However, I mean, I think what's going to happen is their first 20 games are going to be 10-10 or something like that. They're going to be trying to put it together and be, oh, they should have never traded Cat. People deep in their whole now. The Timberwolves obviously developed a whole new audience last year, right, and kind of a younger group and more positive. But is there any? The Twins have now captured the championship for people wanting to be critical of them, right? But has there been any franchise in this town that people took so much delight in ridiculing than the Timberwolves? No, for good reason, obviously. But you got a whole crowd out there of thousands who are on social media who have dedicated their life to belittling the Timberwolves, and they're waiting for the opportunity to do it again. And I think early in the year, I want Finchy, old boy, to develop his rotation 11 or 12 deep from the start. You got to get some of these guys playing. You know who's going to play? Going to end up playing some 10, 12 minutes a night? Luka. Because
how do you find those minutes though? What you said is right.
Yeah, but I don't know where you find them. I mean, they're introducing this Kate's Diop, whatever it is today, right?
Keita Bates Diop, former Timberwolves draft pick, by the way.
He's gonna get released, right? Is he not?
He's borderline. He was playing like 12 minutes or something like that.
I know, but how's he gonna play? I don't get it. It's incredibly deep roster. If you're going to give some of these young guys any minutes at all, that's I don't know how you're going to do it. But that's a good problem. That's a good problem to have. Too much depth.
How would you? Or I'll be honest. I was fighting people on Twitter the last couple of days because I saw a lot of like, hey, Cat is this generation's Kevin Garnett, and I'm not even 40 yet. So I had to step in.
Generation's Kevin Love.
That's correct.
Yes.
How would you describe 9 years of Karl Anthony Towns? How would you sum it up?
I would sum it up by saying not much accomplished. They had a run this time, and before that. Look at the number of games he's missed in the last. He's Max Kepler the last 4 years, right? He's, that's the other thing. Tibbs is getting a guy that he played. Tibbs thinks he's getting a guy that played 82, and then every other game. No, he's getting a 29-year-old who's a raving egomaniac, no matter what you think, which doesn't distinguish him in the NBA either. I'll say that, but. I can't believe that they were able to get rid of. They had to get rid of him. They can't get in a situation where they can't do anything when they're in the second apron for eternity. Now, when Julius Randle opts out, right? If he has a good year, he's gonna opt out, right?
Mm-hmm. So, if he has a good year, he will. Now, D'Lo had a player option, and the Lakers were kind of hoping that he would not exercise it, but he did.
Well, remember when D'Lo had like a good week last year, and he declared that he should get like 230 million or something, and now they're hoping that they could get rid of him. Remember when they were the best friend? They were we get D'Lo. I mean, he and Cat were like inseparable, right? There was just, this whole friendship, which is another NBA piece of crap theory that you end up hearing. They're buddies. They turned. I was told yesterday by somebody there who's knows they hated each other at the end. Cat couldn't stand him for good reason, because he doesn't give a damn. So just think, though, I guess, none of this would have been possible if you didn't figure out a way to get rid of D'Lo, right? Years ago. So
yeah,
who got rid of him? Gerses?
No, Tim Connelly.
Tim Connelly.
A year and a half ago.
Okay. Yeah. Congratulations.
Tim, this is the thing, man. I think Tim Connelly For anyone that's wondering, how could they do this? I don't know. That guy sees 3 chess moves ahead
Oh God, yes,
until
yes.
proven otherwise. Let that guy build a
I think
roster.
I already said this, but I'll say it again because it's so tasteless. He's the Harry Truman of the NBA. He drops atom bombs and nobody knows they're coming.
It's
So
in
that's
an era where there's
That's
buzz
pretty tasteless.
everywhere. It is tasteless,
That's
Vince.
pretty
yeah,
tasteless.
yeah, but it's a long time ago. That's a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah. That's
Yeah, right.
too soon.
Yes, yes. Too soon.
If this
It's
podcast were
amazing.
taking place in 1945, that would
It's
have gotten you
amazing.
canceled, sir.
Yeah.
But
We'd have to cut it out.
The one we forget, the one we forget is the draft where he ended up with Dillingham and Shannon. We were supposed to get nothing out of that draft, right? He ended up getting 2
Right.
guys because I think part of that was fear of the second apron, right? Was
Mhm.
that they were going to end up being, that they couldn't make any trades or anything. But now they got that Shannon. He's an athlete, man. He's a mini Edwards. He's a mini Ant. That guy's gonna have to play. He's a he's a
he's
beast.
24 years old too. He's ready to play now.
Yeah, he's a beast. I know. I told Judd and I were talking about when Louis declared having too much talent in 1982. They got too much talent, and in the NBA, it's a problem. In hockey, it's not because you just you can play 30 guys here. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Here's the other thing, Pat. You were asking about Julius Randle, and he's not a great shooter, so there's definitely some spacing things to figure out. But if you watch those playoffs, especially against the Mavericks, like what are the Wolves' biggest issues to get better at? I think they really only had one guy, Anthony Edwards, that could just get offense. Just hey, we need a bucket. Anthony Edwards was about the only one because Cat's not his drives. He has the highest offensive foul percentage in the league. Randall can get a bucket. He can be a little annoying in terms of you
Yes.
pass the ball to him and he's going to jab step 100 times, but he can get a bucket. And DiVincenzo, you can run him off screens and he can get you buckets too. So they're adding and the young guys in the first round you mentioned, those guys can get baskets.
I was told that and I'm not a study that Cat's a better defender than Randall, which I think
He's bigger.
maybe when Cat's interested, he is. He's not always interested. He's like the rest of them, but yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what his attitude is about it. They're having their press conference right now down there, but I guess he's a decent enough guy. So he left. He was a one and done at Kentucky 1 year before Cat, right? Isn't he
I
like
believe that's
1
correct.
year? Yeah, 1 year before Cat. So, well, he'll. One thing he won't have to get played in the ground like he did when he was in New York because he won't have to play quite as many minutes. Although they do. What do you think it's going to look like if they're going to start Randall? Can they play Nas and Randall together?
I think it's all speculation on who's going to work together. But to your point about minutes, Randall, even with injuries, has been like a 35, 36 minutes guy with Tibbs. You can easily bring him in now and say, hey, new team, new situation, deeper roster. You got injury issues. Let's make it let's maximize 28 minutes instead of 35, and then you open up the other for Naz Reid.
Yeah, that's they do. They're gonna be able to. I wonder how often they're gonna go small. I wonder how often they're gonna go like, as you say, sneak Joe Ingles in the corner, play DiVincenzo, and play. Let's just bomb threes here for about 8 minutes and see what happens.
Yeah, because you could put
So
Conley, Ant, DiVincenzo on the court, and then maybe Jaden at the 4.
yeah, that's
And
Too much talent.
How do you think? They talk about wanting to get Jade more involved in the offense? How does he possibly get more involved in the offense with this collection?
Finchy was talked about it extensively Monday, so that he's gonna that it's up to him. Finch said this time it's up to me to make sure that he gets the ball. How he's gonna do it, I got no clue, but he did talk about a lot. So
Well, it's going
We'll
to be fun, but I think that it's a disaster for the Knicks. That's just my feeling. Because look at their rosters when you get a minute. Look at their roster. They got 8 players maximum.
well, what's gonna
You know?
what's gonna take place though? So if Cat, when Cat inevitably goes into a cat cycle at times. I mean, this guy was touchy-feely about playing in Minnesota. You're going to be on the back page. I mean, first of all, the name Cat with the post is far too delicious to pass up several very crafty headlines. I mean, how is he going to take that? Because he didn't exactly, handle criticism well here.
Well, maybe he can go see his girlfriend and get comforted, which could happen rather quickly, I would think. So
I don't think he got criticized here. Outside of
no, not much.
Not much, but I'm saying I don't think he took it well when he did. I don't think he took it well when he did.
Last couple of years we didn't. He pretty much got a free ride. So I because he signed autographs for kids. Okay, beautiful. Who cared?
Here's the best thing. Tim Connelly walks out after a game and sees you, obliging all the kids and thinks to himself, I don't care. That's what I like about Tim Connelly.
Julius Randle does charity events too.
But,
right.
But I mean, no executive should be like, now, if you're a bad human being, that's a problem. But just because you signed, for a half hour post game or something, no executive should be swayed by that unless you're really, really good as well and contributing consistently.
Well, I agree with you 100%. He's it is funny. Like Kirky became more popular than ever because he non-backs. That's it. Everybody loved that is in that side of the aisle. This is what a nice guy narrative has been really recent with Cat, I think, don't you? I mean, before that, he was just a typical egomaniacal NBA basketball player. So anyway, I'm not.
Hey,
I think they're better.
Before we get to the Twins' absolute dismantling of their hitting coach room, tell the audience if you're new to town, maybe you're a Donte, DiVincenzo, Julius Randle.
Right.
Where are you going to get your car from?
I'm going to get it from Jim Paul and Brett Paul's Valley Group of GM dealers in Hastings and in Apple Valley. And guess what? You know what you're going to do? You're going to go out there and you're going to work with Neil Hadding. Neil Hadding was a top salesperson at Valley for over 2 decades. Probably the best truck guy around, and a lot of people are buying trucks now. He left for a management position elsewhere, but you know what? He saw the real deal, and he has decided to come back, and he's working at the Valley Group of Automobile Dealers again, and he's got hundreds and thousands of old friends and customers. Tim Condon, he went to Alaska. He got sick of fishing salmon. He's back at the Valley Group. He's your financial guy. He'll make sure that this works for you financially when you pick out a new vehicle or a used vehicle at Jim Paul and Brett Paul's. And they also have guys like Charlie Fink, who's been there forever, seasoned veteran. They're very proud of their staff. Guys have been around forever, and they can make a deal. They got a lot of friends in the car business, and they got factory rebates, and they have low interest rates, full supply of vehicles, new and used. Hastings and Apple Valley, check them out. Jim Paul and Brett Paul's Valley Group of GM dealers.
All right, how much better is the Twins' offense going to be, Pat, now that they have cleaned house? All the hitting coaches are gone.
Yeah, that was weird. I was surprised because originally didn't they just say the 2, and then Rudy took the fall 2, and Tony Diaz. What did Tony Diaz do? He was the assistant bench coach, right? Didn't he hit enough ground balls to the infield? Did you see
his quote?
Did you see that they told him they're going to change their infield philosophy? What? Catch the ball? That's they're going to change their infield philosophy. Yes, catch it. Don't throw it away. Royce, throw it accurately. That's
what is an infield philosophy?
Yeah,
great question for Rocco tomorrow. What is infield philosophy?
Legitimately ask. Like when you infield philosophy.
What does that mean? Catch the ground ball? That's right. Oh, are they doing their Benedict? They're not going to have Joe Pohlad. They're not going to do that, are they?
No.
Tomorrow's just Falvey and Rocco tomorrow. Is that the deal?
Rocco stuck around, huh? He didn't go back to Providence yet. But hey, I think here's what we never realized: the uphill battle they had against this wonderful division, the AL.
I was just going to
Central.
say, pour one out.
AL Central. In fact, I said on Twitter that the reason the Royals and the Detroit won is they were hardened like steel from playing the Twins all season in 13 games. You know, the Twins took the season series. They took the season series from two teams that have advanced, have never gave up any runs. What Detroit gave up, Kansas City gave up 1 run in 2 games in Baltimore, right? One run. And Detroit, just rolled through.
So by the transitive property.
Yes.
By the transitive property.
Prepared them.
Twins ran out of gas, pushing their division foes. It wasn't their fault they collapsed.
Yes, that's right. They won the season series against both those teams. You know that the energy that took, no wonder they faded, right?
And by extension, the Twins are better. So if they were in the playoffs, they would be through right now.
Yeah, oh God, yes. If Pablo pitched as great as he did his last 2 starts, that would have helped him a lot. Way to go, Pablo. By the way, I think I mentioned this yesterday or last time we talked. All the savings they're getting rid of Kepler, and there's Santana and 4 or 5 other guys, eight guys that aren't going to be around. That's kind of used up with what they got to play Pablo now and Carlos now, and so you can't say we're not going to cut payroll anymore. You got to say we're going to spend what it takes, right?
So Correa goes from 33 up to 37. And then Pablo goes from 8 to 22.
Yes, that's 14. There goes Kepler's savings and Santana savings almost right there. Between
Chris Paddock goes from 2.5 to 7.5.
And they can't get out of that. They signed him.
I think it's ironclad. Yeah.
God, what the heck? That's when this organization went to crap.
And hey, Randy Dobnak goes from 2 to 3 million next year.
That's right.
Why
did we put the Dauber back on the 40 man at the end for that last day? It was kind of weird, wasn't it?
Is it symbolic? It was,
I don't know that it was a meaningless game, and we're paying this guy $3 million. Go ahead and throw the ball here for us.
Okay,
Randy.
go around the team. Who's Santana's gone?
Yeah.
Kepler's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Farmer's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Willie Castro might be gone. They might not let him take him to arbitration, even though he been voted the MVP. They might make a deal with him.
That is absurd.
If he wants some real money, they might not keep him. There's going to be I got to think mass changes, don't you? I think there's other stuff going to go on here too.
Well, if we have a new infield philosophy, if we got we got to go do the whole new infield at that point, right? Royce is playing first base.
Yeah. Since we traded Cat, the nicest guy in the history of the Minnesota Timberwolves franchise, just stays out there in a raging blizzard signing autographs for little kids and stuff, and buys them a coat and all this stuff. How about I'd trade Reusse if somebody wanted to give me something?
Wow.
Yeah,
I feel like that's an episode. We should do that. We should do that episode.
I'm not all in on Reusse.
I don't know that he's all in on the Twins, so maybe it's
or the Twins are all in on him.
What is he? 26? Isn't he?
What
26?
Is he now? Is he that old? He's not
18 when he was drafted. He's 25.
Wow. He's going to turn 26.
When will he be 26?
Next June.
June 26. If somebody wanted to give me something, I wouldn't, be out there. But if somebody wanted to give me something for Royce, I would make it trade. I think he's overrated. That was the one thing though is he saved him a lot of money in arbitration by the way he hit the last 2 months. That he was going to cost him plenty, and now he's going to cost him. They can beat him in arbitration.
You think he's going to settle in the middle, or you think that thing's going to?
There's a pretty good. I like him, but he's a pretty good ego there. And but hey, he stunk. He stunk. He
had a 490 OPS in his last 42 games. He had 191.
Yes. Yeah, he stunk for. You look around. How did this collapse happen? That's one
Cheap
of the
guys.
places you can start.
Yeah, yeah.
But the problem, the number one problem is they're stuck with Buck for a big salary, and they're stuck with Correa for a big salary. And I love Correa when he's healthy, but are we now? You can't have plantar fasciitis. Now that you've had it on each foot, there's nowhere else to have it, right? Isn't
No,
it?
I don't think so.
Isn't it cured? I don't know.
It
But
doesn't go to the brain.
I will say, people are now saying, well, they're making it sound like the Pohlads fired the hitting staff. No, they didn't. That was Falvey and the boys. So they're. I gotta think they're in a panic over there right now, don't you?
Well, from a
Reaching out
public
to see-
relations standpoint, they better
trying to
be in a
sell
panic.
tickets, trying to sell sponsors. Where they're going, who's going to be running it. I think Levine's out of the organization. It's not official yet, but his contract is up, I was told. So, and he hasn't made a decision for 5 years anyway. So,
Well, let's bank that Royce Lewis conversation. Maybe we can do that tomorrow or next week. That's an interesting one.
Piping hot take.
You're coming.
Yeah, no,
I liked you better when you were
The nut graph was late, Pat.
Huh?
I said your nut graph was late. Your big hot take.
I liked him better when he was sleek and he was an athlete. Every time he got hurt, he added 10 pounds of muscle, and now he's a muscle bound. Who if he runs into one, he could hit a home run, but half his throws a third. Yeah, that's somebody. Tony Diaz apparently never told him, when you pick a ground ball up and throw it to first, throw it up in the air, nice, right where the guy, throw it within reach of the first baseman. And Tony, so we got a new philosophy. That is funny. That's a new philosophy of infield. God Almighty. All right.
Amazing. All right, Pat. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
There he is, Reusse
There he
Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold. See you guys.